I'm not even really sure where to start with this thing. So I'll start with the story. I'll start with the background. Last week, Dr. Art's Hot Rod Rehab, mentions to me that he's thinking about adding a Mopar to the fleet. He likes the 68 to 70 B bodies. So he says, you know what, if you come across anything interesting, let me know. I'll check it out for you. So a couple days later, he comes across an ad, one of the local classic car dealers. And I'm not going to mention which one it is because technically they're really not doing anything wrong. Technically, right? So it's not like, and it's not like I've actually laid eyes on this car. I've never been in the presence of this car. I'm only going off the pictures and the videos that Dr. Art sent me. So we're going to leave the name of the dealership out of this. But he goes and he looks at this car and he says, he brings me the video and he says, what do you think of this car? And like literally, as soon, he told me it's a 68 Super B, okay? So literally, as soon as he shows me the video, like within not even a half a second, I knew it's wrong. It's a flipper car. All right. So now, before I go any further, I need to define a couple of few terms. Right. The first is that I often use the word flipper in a very negative or derogatory way. I do not view flipping cars or motorcycles or trucks or boats or anything or houses in a negative light. There's nothing wrong with buying something and turning it over for a profit. There's especially nothing wrong with buying something that needs some work, fixing it up, and turning it over for a profit. We've all done that. I've done it countless times. In the context of what we're talking about, the flipper, the classic car industry, collector car, classic car, in these terms, when I use the word flipper, it's somebody who really doesn't give any thought or regard to the package. They're looking just for maximum bang for the buck, and they'll throw anything at it to make it, to give it eyes, right? Because you sell the sizzle. So they'll go for the most beautiful paint jobs. They'll go for the nicest interior. They'll go for the highest trim levels, and they'll tend to cut corners every place else. You're selling the sizzle, not the steak. And what this does is it sucks in a lot of people who just do not know any better. There are a lot of unsophisticated, generally older, retirement age buyers who they want that car of their youth, and they see this thing and it's shiny and it has all the great things, says all the right things on it, and they'll impulse buy it. And it generally means a lot of profit for the person who's doing the flipping and a car that isn't what it's supposed to be for the person who bought it. So that's what I mean by when I say flipper as in a negative way. That's what I'm referring to. And we see a lot of it. Now also, tributes and clones. Now here is and I've said this many times on this channel, here's my stance on tributes and clones. Now keep in mind, I am a fanatical Mopar purist. It's got to have the right everything. And when I say it's got to have the right everything, it has to have everything that the car is supposed to have. I've said it many times on this channel that given a choice between a rare original car and a clone, I personally would choose the clone, tribute, however you want to call it. Why is that? Because I'm not concerned with value. I don't care what the car is worth. It means nothing to me. I want a car that I can use. I'm not a caretaker. So when you have a rare original car, you end up being a caretaker for it. You have to, you keep it in just the right nice environment. You keep it nice. You keep it clean. You keep it, everything's just it's got to be so use it sparingly. I'm not like that. I'm not a caretaker. I'm a gearhead. I'm a hot rodder. I want to go out and I want to bang gears and abuse the thing. And you don't do that with a rare original car. So I have nothing against clones, and in some cases, a lot of cases, I myself would choose the clone over the original for those reasons. All right. So here's what we have with this car, and like I said, I looked at this thing, Dr. Art shows me the video of this car, and within an instant, I knew that it was a badly done clone or badly done tribute. How did I know this? Immediately, without even really looking at it. I could have told you that this was a bad job literally from Google Earth. I could have told you from a satellite picture of this car that it was not a properly done 1968 Super B. Why, you ask? Well, the color. You start with the color. It's the wrong color for the car. Okay, when I say it's the wrong color, it's a high impact color. The car is painted in sublime. The car is supposed to be a 1968 Super B. There were no high impact colors in 1968. You had all of the normal colors in 1968, but no high impact colors. They started bringing them in 1969. Couple of different options, and in 1970 you had all of the high impact colors, and this one is sublime. It's a high impact color. So right away the car is painted in a 1970 color. Now when I look at the car a little bit closer, I know right away it's definitely not a Super B. It's not even a good Super B clone. Why? Because it's a hardtop. Super Bs, 1968 Super Bs, were all coupes. They didn't have roll-down back windows. They had the flip-out rear windows. Roadrunners were the same way up until mid-1968. They were introduced as a coupe only, post only, and so were the Super Bs. The Roadrunner became available as a hardtop later on in the year, but not the Super B. The Super B was also a mid-year introduction in 1868. The Roadrunner was available at the very beginning in late 1967, but the Super B wasn't available until late January, early February '68. So it was a short-run car. But right there, the color, the fact that it's got a 1970 color on it, and it's got roll-down windows, it's not a coupe. So those are the obvious glaring things that jump out at me. So the next thing I notice is that it has the wrong hood. A 1968 Super B would only have a power bulge hood. And it's a small bulge that's just like right over the carburetor. Not very big at all. Actually, when you think of power bulge hoods, you don't really think of the 68 Super B hood. But that's what's there. It's just a small little lump over the carburetor. This thing has a 1969 hood on it, and the scoops are 1969 carryover to 1970. Those are the Ram Charger scoops. So the Dodge version of the air grabber was called the Ram Charger. And those are the scoops that they used in 1969, and they carried them over to 1970 on these cars. Never available. No Ram Charger, air grabber, or anything like that was ever available on the 1968 Super B. It only had the standard hood. And then just adding insult to injury, there's no chrome trim around the leading edge. So these are just the fiberglass repops that somebody stuck on there, and they didn't bother detailing them out. Also, the 1968 Super B did not have an engine call out on the hood. This has, it says 3D3 on the side of the scoop. It wouldn't say that even on, well, it would say it on a 69, but it wouldn't have that anywhere on a 1968 Super B. So we know that that's goofy. Then, like one of my pet peeves, because again, I'm a fanatical, psychotic Chrysler purist, it's got the wrong dog dish hubcaps on it. Those are the 1969, 70, and most of the year 71 hubcaps. They have the red circle with the Dodge Fratzog in the center of them. The 68 Super B had the same hubcaps as the 67 Coronet. Google a picture of 1968 Dodge dog dish hubcap and you'll know what I'm talking about. So like I said, a major pet peeve of mine. Wrong year dog dish hubcaps. I'm actually going to do a dog dish hubcap spotter's guide. Now, one other glaring thing on this car is the emblems. They just decided to festoon this thing with Super B emblems. So the 68 Super B only has one Super B on it, right? You know, the B with the wheels. And it's found on the rear finish panel to the right of the Dodge lettering. Well, this thing has them all over the place. They have one on each front fender and they stuck one in the grill. They don't belong there. And these particular emblems are the ones that would be found in the center of a 1970 hood. So, you know, a 70 has the two split bumpers and the hood comes down, it's got like a beak in the center. Well, these are the emblems that will be found in the center of a 70 Super B hood. They don't belong on that car. So, visually, when we look this car over from one end to the other, like literally everything is wrong. They got the tail stripe right, but literally 100% of everything visually on this car from this angle is wrong. But it gets even better. It gets even better. This is just starting. So now let's look at the interior. Okay, so first thing that jumps out at me, right? You can't miss this. The car has high back bucket seats. There were no high back bucket seats in 1968. They incorporated headrests in 69 as standard equipment, but you didn't get high back buckets until 1970. These are high back bucket seats. So now Dr. Art, in the video he shows me, has a close-up of this area of the seat. It has no retractable latch. There's no way to unlatch the seat to move it forward in order to climb into the back seat. So these are out of a truck or a van or something that doesn't have provision to lean forward. I have no idea how you would get into the back seat of this car. And the upholstery pictures of the back seat, it looks like they took just black vinyl and laid it over the stock seat that was originally in the car, and it's like it's all coming up from the bottom. It's just done in a cheesy, tacky way. So it's got the wrong seats in the car. 68 Super B would have a bench. Buckets came along in 69 as an option. It was always a standard bench seat car. So now looking at the gauge cluster right away, okay, just at a glance, I know it's not a 68 Super B. It's not even a good tribute or a clone. Why? It has a sweep style speedometer. So 68, 69 Roadrunner both had sweep style speedometers. The GTX also had, in 68 and 69, sweep style speedometer. Dodge was a little bit different. In Dodge, the 68 RT had a sweep style speedometer like this one, but it was to 150 miles an hour. The Super B was equipped with the Charger Rally Dash that has the 6 round gauges. You got the 2 big ones and then the 4 small ones. So this is a sweep style Speedo, does not belong in a 1968 Super B. This is a regular Coronet. Then we notice a couple of really interesting things here. This car was originally automatic. How do we know it was originally automatic? Well, they left the gear indicator on the steering column. So the Prindle, the park reverse drive, okay, well that's still on the steering column, but it has a 4-speed shifter. It has a Hurst 4-speed shifter, and it's a console shifter. So it comes up and goes over towards the center and then comes up. So, okay, 1968 Super B would have an inland shifter. The inland shifter was the one that has the trigger for the reverse. So you got to pull up on a handle to get it up in the reverse. They were terrible shifters, terrible shifters. And most 68 Super Bs before, or 68 Mopars, before the end of 68 were all swapped over to Hursts. But that is the wrong shifter for that car. It would have had just the round stick that comes up out of the floor and it's biased towards the driver's side. But here's the really interesting part. Ready for this? This is the interesting part. I saw in a video that the shifter in first and third hit the dashboard. Okay, so if you're going to put this thing in the first gear or third gear, the shifter handle, the T handle, is literally smashed up against the dashboard. What does that mean? How did that happen? They have the wrong shifter mounting plate on there. There are a few different varieties of the shifter mounting plate. That's the part that goes between the Hurst shifter or even the inland shifter and the Chrysler transmission. So the one they have on here is for an A body. The A body orients the shifter a little bit forward because the A body shifter mounting pad is behind the position it is on a B body. So this has got the wrong shifter mount, and so therefore there's no way you can adjust this thing so that it doesn't hit the dashboard when you go into either first or third. It's like simple things you couldn't. Okay. So that's the rundown on the interior of the car. I could probably find more and be nitpicking, but let's just leave it at that. You can tell that there's something wrong there because I want to get to the best part of this. Well, no, so much of this is the best part of this. Under the hood. So we know that on the wrong year hood with the wrong year scoop and the wrong call-out letters on the wrong year hood and the wrong year scoop, it says 3D3. But when you open the hood, it's a 318. It's literally just a 318. So they went through the trouble of doing all of the body work on this car, of painting it, doing all of the stuff they got to do. They took the engine out. They painted the engine. It's all detailed. Okay? And I give them credit because most flippers just go with a Chevy black under the hood. A Mopar fanatic knows that under the hood of a Chrysler product is supposed to be body color, and they did that here. But they've got the wrong freaking engine in there. It's a 318. Says 3D3. It's supposed to be a Super B. 68 Super B, you only had two engines. You had the 3D3 4-valve was a standard engine. That was it. That was the base engine, and the 426 Hemi was an option. There was no 318 in the mix. But there it is. at 318. They stuck an aluminum intake manifold on it and a 4-valve carburetor under the Chinese air cleaner, and it's even got exhaust manifolds. It even has the stock 318 exhaust manifolds. So you've got this thing that's got the wrong color, the wrong trim on the wrong body with the wrong interior and the wrong everything else, and on top of that, to add insult to injury, it's got a freaking 318 in it. Even though it says 383 on the hood, even though the definition of a Super B is a 383. Am I getting too round up here? This is what happens when you show this stuff to a fanatical Mopar, psychotic purist like myself. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these things are okay. And then we get to the back of the car. All right, so they got the tail stripe okay, and they got the little Super B emblem to the right of the Dodge okay, but the tailpipes. So the 1968 Super B, the standard tailpipes on that would have just been facing them. They would have come right to the edge of the back bumper, and they face down at about a 45-degree angle or thereabouts. Okay, these just jut straight out, and they stick out, judging by this picture, they stick out about 6 inches off the back of the bumper, right? And Dr. Art sent me pictures, close-up pictures of the bumper, and the bumpers have like crusty rust on them and stuff like that. So it's got fresh paint, but rusty bumpers. You know, fine, you want to take a little liberty on it and put the chrome exhaust tips on it, that's fine, but at least use the right ones, use the Dodge style ones for the 68 to 70 cars. No, that's just muffler shop, you know, quickie muffler shop job here, stick these 2 pipes on there and send it. Why, right? I could go on and on with this. I can't, like I said at the beginning of this video, I can't say anything to the structural integrity of the car, the mechanical integrity of it. I have no idea. And that's why I'm not calling out anybody. I'm only going by the stuff that I can see from the photographs, that anybody can see from the photographs. I have to be fair, and I wasn't able to put my hands on this car. What I did notice in Dr. Art's video, and he shows it on his own channel, is that he took some close-ups of the paint here and there, and there are crazy runs. Like, why didn't you just sand that out? Like, this was obviously done as like a rush job just to get it out. There's all crusty like debris in the corner of between the dashboard and the windshield. And then this I pick up right here. So the 68 to 70 Dodge B Body has a very intricate rear quarter panel stamping. Probably the most intricate quarter panel stamping of any of these cars. So looking from this picture, I can see that there's no definition to the bottom of the quarter. It's just kind of like blobby, right? Now, again, I didn't see this car in person. I can't say, oh, it's Bondo. It's a Bondo bucket. But I mean, maybe it's a trick of light. I don't know. If you come across this car in person, let me know what that actually looks like. But it looks to me like they just did a quick sloppy body work. You know, just slam some Bondo in it, sand it, and send it. All right, like I said, I could keep going with this, and I'm not going to go any further. I think we said enough. So, okay, so what is this car worth, right? What is this car worth? What this car is a 1968 318 Coronet that somebody swapped a 4-speed into. I don't know what the bodywork is like. I don't know what the underneath of the car is like. I don't know what the trunk is like. I don't know what any of this stuff is like. I can only go by what I'm seeing here. So what is the value of a running, driving 68 Coronet? So to me, what would I pay for this car? Running, driving with the 4-speed, although it doesn't belong in there, I would probably put a 3-speed in it just to keep it accurate, because the car would have been available with a 3-speed. On the tree, no floor shift in 68. That didn't come along until 70. So to me, the car's worth about $6,000 because I know I have to repaint it. I have to undo all of the goofiness that's just festooned all over the car. So if it's otherwise perfect and beautiful, I'd say $6,000 and I'm going to spend another 4 or 5 making it where I'm not going to be the laughing stock of any Mopar meet because that's what's going to happen to whoever buys this car. This thing's it's either going to end up in somebody's like buried collection where it never sees the light of day. It gets snuck out on like Sunday afternoons for a quick ride. Or it ends up as the laughing stock of any Mopar meet, because you drive this thing to any place where there's Mopar people and they're going to gather around this thing like flies on poop and point out all of the countless things that are wrong with it. So, like I said, $8,000 to $10,000 is being generous. It's worth about $6,000 to me. What are they asking for it? You sitting down? I hope you're sitting down. You're probably sitting down. You're watching this video sitting down. $32,900. They want $32,900 for this. Okay, let me say that slowly now, right? They want $33,000, $33,000. You know, because then now you got to pay to get the thing out, taxes and everything else. So this car's going to cost you probably $39,000 by the time all is said and done, and it's delivered to wherever you're going to bring it to. $32,900 is their asking price on this car. I think I could buy a pretty nice Survivor 68 Super B with all of the right stuff and all of the right trim that I would be proud to bring to any Mopar meet for about that much or even less. Buyer beware. This stuff is freaking rampant, and and it's not just because I'm a like I said, I'm a fanatical purist. So take everything that I've said in this video through that filter. I am a fanatical purist when it comes to this stuff. I'll tell you that the car's got the wrong door buttons on it. And again, if you're doing you're going to do a clone, you're going to do a tribute, and you want to take a few liberties like that are in the spirit of the car, well, that's fine. You know, instead of having a 3-3, fine, stick a 440 in it. You want to put a 6-pack setup on top of it, do that. Thousands of dealers did that, or thousands of cars left the dealership that way because those parts were available over the counter back then. You want to put a late model Hemi in it, whatever it is that you want to do to the car. You want to put different wheels on it, day 2 stuff, awesome. But keep it within the spirit of the car so that the car is representative of what it's supposed to be, and with tasteful, appropriate modifications. This is just a clown car. Not done with this yet. Kiwi sent me some pictures of a car that we're going to check up tomorrow. The hits just keep on coming. I'll see you tomorrow.